I'm 28 years old, and I've spent most of my life being the invisible middle child. My older brother Marcus has always been the golden boy, the successful lawyer, the one who made all the right choices, the one my parents bragged about at every family gathering. When he called me 3 months ago to announce his engagement to Victoria, I was genuinely happy for him. I really was. But then came the engagement party planning, and suddenly, I wasn't just invisible anymore. I was a problem. It started small. Marcus called me on a Tuesday evening, his voice tight with that particular tone he uses when he's trying to sound reasonable, but is actually annoyed. "Look, I need to talk to you about the engagement party," he said. "Victoria and I have been discussing the guest list, and we're trying to keep things intimate. Meaningful, you know?" I didn't know where this was going, but my stomach already knew to drop. We're only inviting people who've really been there for us as a couple. People who've invested in our relationship. And, honestly, when was the last time you even visited? When did you last ask about Victoria or show any real interest in my life? The words hit me like cold water. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but he kept going. "You missed my birthday dinner last year. You didn't come to the family barbecue where I introduced Victoria to everyone. You're always busy with your own stuff, your own friends, your own life. So Victoria and I talked about it, and we don't think you've really earned a spot at our engagement party. It's for people who actually care." I sat there in stunned silence, my phone pressed against my ear, trying to process what I was hearing. Earned a spot? At my own brother's engagement party? "Marcus, I missed your birthday because I was working a double shift at the hospital. I'm a nurse. You know I can't always control my schedule. And the barbecue was the same weekend as my best friend's wedding that I was a bridesmaid in. I told you about that months in advance." "There's always an excuse with you," he said coldly. Victoria noticed it too. "You never make us a priority. So, why should we make you one?" The call ended shortly after that. No apology, no room for discussion. Just a clear message that I wasn't wanted. I spent the next 2 days crying, angry, and replaying every interaction I'd had with Marcus over the past 2 years. Yes, I'd been busy. Yes, I'd missed some events. But I'd also sent thoughtful gifts, made phone calls when I could, and genuinely tried to be supportive despite working 12-hour shifts that left me exhausted. I'd been there when our dad had his heart scare last year, taking time off work to help Mom at the hospital. I'd helped Marcus move into his new apartment, spending an entire Saturday hauling boxes up 3 flights of stairs. But apparently, none of that mattered. I hadn't invested enough in his relationship with Victoria, a woman I'd met exactly 4 times. The breaking point came when my mom called. I thought maybe she was calling to smooth things over, to tell Marcus he was being ridiculous. Instead, she said, "Honey, I know you're hurt, but maybe Marcus has a point. You have been pretty distant lately. Maybe this is a wake-up call to be more present for family." That's when something inside me snapped. Not in an angry way, but in a clarifying way. I realized I'd been bending over backward my entire life, trying to fit into a family narrative where I was always going to be the one who wasn't quite good enough, wasn't quite there enough, wasn't quite enough, period. So I made a decision. If I didn't deserve to celebrate my brother's engagement, then I deserved to celebrate myself. I opened my laptop and searched for flights to Hawaii. I'd been talking about taking a real vacation for 3 years, but kept putting it off because of work, because of family obligations, because of money, because of 1,000 reasons that suddenly felt insignificant. The engagement party was scheduled for a Saturday 3 weeks away. I found a perfect 5-day trip to Maui, leaving that Thursday and returning the following Tuesday. It was expensive. It was impulsive. It was exactly what I needed. I booked it. I didn't tell my family right away. I waited until a week before the party, when my mom asked if I'd reconsidered and maybe wanted to stop by the engagement party, even if I wasn't officially invited. As if I should be grateful for the chance to hover awkwardly on the periphery of my own brother's celebration. "I can't," I told her simply. "I'll be in Hawaii." The silence on the other end of the phone was deafening. "You're going on vacation during your brother's engagement party?" Her voice pitched higher with each word. "Are you doing this to hurt him?"
"No, Mom."
"I'm doing this because I deserve a vacation, and apparently I don't deserve an invitation to the party. So I chose me." This is so selfish. Marcus is going to be devastated. That word, selfish. It stung, but it also felt absurd. How was prioritizing myself after being explicitly told I wasn't wanted somehow more selfish than excluding your own sister from a family celebration? I didn't argue. I just said, I've already booked everything. I'm going. The next week was tense. My phone buzzed with messages from my older sister asking me to reconsider, from my dad saying I was making things worse, from Marcus himself sending a single text that read, "Really mature. Hope your vacation is worth it." But I didn't cancel. I packed my bags, bought new sundresses, downloaded books onto my tablet, and tried to ignore the gnawing guilt that kept whispering that maybe I really was being selfish, maybe I really was making a mistake. The morning I left for the airport, I felt a strange mix of defiance and sadness. Part of me wanted my brother to call and apologize, to say he'd overreacted, to beg me not to go. But my phone stayed silent except for a text from my best friend. "You're doing the right thing. Have the time of your life." As I boarded the plane, I silenced my phone and made myself a promise. For the next 5 days, I was going to choose myself without apology, without guilt, without looking back. I had no idea that by the time I landed in Maui, everything would have already started to fall apart back home. The first 2 days in Maui were absolute paradise. I kept my phone on airplane mode, determined to disconnect from the drama back home. I watched sunrises from my hotel balcony, took a snorkeling tour where I swam with sea turtles, and ate the best poke bowl of my entire life at a tiny restaurant recommended by a local. For the first time in years, I felt like I could actually breathe. The engagement party was scheduled for Saturday evening. I spent that day hiking through a bamboo forest, the dense green canopy filtering golden sunlight onto the trail. I thought about Marcus maybe once or twice, wondered briefly how the party was going, but mostly I just existed in the moment. I felt peaceful. Free even. That evening, I was sitting at a beachfront bar watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and orange when I finally turned my phone back on. I told myself I'd just check in quickly, make sure there were no emergencies. The screen lit up and my stomach dropped. 67 missed calls, 143 text messages, 28 voicemails. My hands started shaking as I scrolled through the notifications. Messages from my mom, my dad, my sister, Marcus, and dozens from a number I didn't immediately recognize but quickly realized was Victoria, my brother's fiancé. I opened Victoria's messages first. They started around 3 p.m. Hawaii time, which would have been 6 p.m. back home, right when the party would have been starting. Victoria, I can't believe you actually went through with this. Do you have any idea how this looks? Victoria, Marcus has been miserable all week knowing you chose a vacation over his engagement. His engagement. Victoria, people keep asking where you are, and he has to make excuses for you. You're embarrassing him. Then, around 8 p.m. her time. Victoria, you are the most selfish person I've ever met. This was supposed to be our special day, and you've made it all about you and your hurt feelings. Victoria, Marcus tried to include you in our lives and you couldn't even be bothered to show up for one party. Now, everyone's talking about the sister who went to Hawaii instead. You've ruined this for us. Victoria, don't bother coming to the wedding. You've shown your true colors. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. My first instinct was guilt, that familiar, crushing weight that made me want to immediately apologize, to book the first flight home, to fix whatever I'd broken. But as I kept reading through the messages, that guilt started transforming into something else. My mom's texts were predictably disappointed. I raised you better than this. Your brother needed you today, and you abandoned him. I'm so ashamed. My sister's messages tried to be more diplomatic, but still placed all the blame on me. Look, I get that you were hurt, but this wasn't the way to handle it. You've made everything so much worse. Victoria's upset. Marcus is upset. Mom and Dad are upset. Was your point really worth all this? But it was Marcus's messages that really got to me. Marcus, thanks for nothing. Really showed everyone what kind of person you are. Marcus, Victoria's in tears because of you. Hope you're proud of yourself. Marcus, Dad had to give a toast explaining why his daughter couldn't be bothered to show up. You humiliated this entire family. I sat there on that beautiful Hawaiian beach, tropical breeze in my hair, and felt tears streaming down my face. Not because I regretted going, but because I suddenly saw the situation with painful clarity. I hadn't been invited. Marcus had explicitly told me I didn't deserve to be at his engagement party. My own brother had said I hadn't earned the right to celebrate with him. And yet now, somehow, my absence was the problem. My choice to take care of myself instead of begging for scraps of inclusion was selfish. My decision to have boundaries was what ruined everything. The double standard was breathtaking. I ordered another drink and started going through my voicemails. Most were variations on the texts, my mom crying, Victoria angry, my sister pleading with me to call back and fix this. But there was one voicemail from my dad that made me pause. His voice was quiet, measured, and disappointed in that particular way that had always made me feel small. I don't know what's gotten into you lately. This isn't how we raised you to treat family. Marcus is hurt. Victoria feels disrespected. Your mother is devastated. Whatever point you were trying to make, you've made it. Now you need to come home and apologize to your brother and his fiancé. This behavior is beneath you. I listened to it twice, waiting to feel that old familiar shame that would make me crumble and comply. But instead, I felt something new. Anger. I wasn't invited, but I was supposed to show up anyway. I was told I didn't deserve to be there, but my absence was a betrayal? I was explicitly excluded, but somehow I was the one who abandoned the family? I took a screenshot of Marcus's original text telling me I hadn't earned a spot at the party. Then I opened a new group message to my parents, my sister, Marcus, and Victoria. I typed carefully, deleting and rewriting several times before I finally hit send. I want to be very clear about something. Marcus told me I didn't deserve to attend his engagement party because I hadn't invested enough in his relationship. He uninvited me. Those are the facts. I didn't crash the party or cause a scene. I simply made other plans when I was explicitly told I wasn't wanted. If my absence was so noticeable and painful, maybe that says something about the decision to exclude me in the first place. I'm sorry you're upset, but I'm not sorry for choosing to take care of myself instead of begging to be included where I wasn't wanted. I love you all, but I need you to understand that you can't uninvite someone and then be angry when they don't show up. That's not how this works. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The responses came within minutes. Victoria. Wow. Even now you're making yourself the victim. This is unbelievable. Marcus. You're twisting everything. I never uninvited you. I just said we were keeping things small and intimate. You could have still come if you really wanted to. That message made me actually laugh out loud. A bitter, incredulous sound that startled the couple sitting next to me at the bar. Me. Marcus, you specifically said I hadn't earned a spot at your party and that it was only for people who actually care. How is that not an uninvitation? Marcus, you're being deliberately obtuse. You knew you were still family. You just chose to be petty. Victoria, he's right. You're acting like a child who didn't get her way. Grow up. My sister jumped in, trying to play peacemaker. Can we all just take a breath? This is getting out of hand. Let's talk when everyone's calmer. But my mom's response was what really crystallized everything for me. Young lady, your brother was trying to set a boundary about meaningful relationships, and you punished him for it. That is selfish. Come home and apologize. I stared at that message for a long time. My brother was setting a boundary by excluding me, but I was punishing him by accepting that boundary and making other plans. His feelings mattered, but mine didn't. His hurt was valid, but mine was petty. I realized then that nothing I said would matter. The narrative had already been written, and I was cast as the villain. I could defend myself until I was blue in the face, but they'd already decided I was selfish, immature, and wrong. So I typed one final message. I hope you all had a beautiful party. I'm going to finish my vacation now. We can talk when I get home if you actually want to hear my perspective instead of just telling me how wrong I am. Until then, I'm going to stop checking my phone. I turned my phone back to airplane mode, finished my drink, and walked along the beach as the stars came out. The next 3 days in Hawaii were strange. Part of me was present, enjoying the luau, taking a helicopter tour of the island, getting a massage that actually made me cry because I realized how much tension I'd been carrying. But part of me was already bracing for what would happen when I went home. Because I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Victoria had called me selfish, but I was starting to understand that wasn't really what this was about. This was about control, about who got to set the terms of relationships, about who was allowed to have boundaries and who wasn't. And I was beginning to realize that standing up for myself was going to cost me more than I'd anticipated.